Hello there all my lovely jewelry makers, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and in today's video we're going to be going over 3 wire weaves that are perfect for ring bands because they all use 2 base wires and they're very functional but at the same time also very decorative. And it includes my personal favourite wire weave that I use all the time for ring bands, and the 3 wire weaves are the graphic wire weave, the colour block wire weave and the diagonal wire weave, which is my favourite. So if you want to look at a specific one, there will be timestamps in the description box down below so you can skip through the video if you want. Otherwise, if you want to learn how to make any of these wire weaves that are perfect for ring bands but you can of course use for anything else as well, then keep watching. Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this graphic wire weave, and this is what it looks like. So it's quite graphic looking here. You got these blocks almost going from side to side. You get this really nice effect. And then both sides are very similar. There is a front and a back because the back is slightly different. But if you want to learn how to make this weave, then keep watching. So then the wire that we're going to use is 2 lengths here of my 1mm wire, and this is going to be the base wires for the weave. And then for the actual weaving wire itself, we're going to need 1 length of a 0.4mm wire, so we're going to use this around the base wires to create the weave. So I'm going to start out with one of my base wires here, and then also my weaving wire. I'm going to work towards from one end, just leave a bit of a tail, put my weaving wire behind the base wire, just hold on to that. Then I want to attach my weaving wire onto this base wire by just wrapping it around a couple of times. So we're just coiling the weaving wire basically around the base wire. Just make sure you get them nice and tight together. So this is 2, and I'm going to do 3, and then I'm going to do all the way up to 5 to begin with, because basically it's going to mean we can go straight into the weave. So I've done 5 wraps around the base wire with my weaving wire now, and then we need to introduce the other base wire. So I'm going to grab that layer above the previous one, so just like this. Make sure your coils are pushed nice and tight together. So we now have the 2 base wires, and then my weaving wire is coming basically out towards the back in between the 2 base wires there. I'm going to bring it down below both of them, around the bottom and over the top of both of them as well, like that, all the way down the back again, down the back of both of them, and then over the top of both of them again, down the back of both of them one more time, and then again just a 3rd time as well. So there we go, and then my weaving wire is coming down behind the base wires there. And this is basically going to be the weave. Now what I just want to say is you can adjust the amount of wraps that you do, both the single wraps around one base wire and also the ones around both base wires there. It's completely up to you how many you want to do, depending on what look you want. But this is just what I'm doing in this case. And then I've done my 3 double wraps there. So then what we need to do is swap the single wrap over to the other side. So I'm going to come up between the 2 base wires. Just like that, push it all the way down. You can use that as well when you come up between the 2 to push it down so your weave gets nice and close and tight together. Then I'm going to go over the top of the top base wire, around that on its own. So this is once. So basically what I want to do is count the amount of wraps that I'm doing, because I want it to be equal all the way throughout. So however many wraps that you decide to do, I'm going to come up between the 2 base wires again to do my 2nd wrap. So that's 2. Make sure you push them down. Come up between the 2 base wires again. Go around the top of the top one there, that's 3. And then, because like I said, I started out with 5 there, so I also want to do 5 throughout. Whenever I do a single wrap, I want to make sure to do 5 wraps here. And the 5th one. Just like that, come around the top and then have your weaving wire go all the way down the back of your base wires. So that's the single wrap on the other side now than where we started out. So it's just coming down behind both the base wires. So this is the point now, before we swap side, we need to do the double wrap around both base wires. So I'm just going to go coming behind both of them, go down below across the top of both of them, like that. And I'm going to do this 3 times, because if you remember the first time I did it, I also did it 3 times. Same principle. However many times you choose to do it, just do it the same amount to try and make sure to keep it even throughout. So there we go, I've now done the 3. So now to move to the opposite side of the single wrap that I did previously, I need to go to the bottom one. So we're coming below, I'm going to go across the top of both of them, but instead of going all the way up, I'm going to come down between the 2 wires, 2 base wires there, and then push that all the way down again. Same principle, just use that single wrap to push everything else nice and tight together. Around the bottom, down between the 2 base wires again, and then in this case we want to then have the equal amount of wraps on this as we did previously. So you just want to keep wrapping here. I've currently done 2, so that means I need to do another 3. So that's my 3rd one around this bottom base wire on its own. 4, and the last time to make it 5 just like the other ones, like that, and just make sure you've pushed them nice and tight together so we get that equal spacing. And that's basically all you keep doing. So then to swap side again, we just need to do the double wrap first of all over both the wires, and I'm doing that 3 times just like the other times. And then to swap places, this is where I need to come up between the 2 base wires, push that down to swap from the bottom base wire of the single wrap up to the top base wire to do the single wrap. And then you just do your 5 wraps on here if that's the amount that you choose to do. 2 and 3 and 4, and then the last one 5, before we then have to do the double wrap around both of them. Make sure they're nice and tight. Do the double wrap over the top of both of them, again in my case 3 times, and then the single wrap around the bottom one again. And that's all you keep doing here. So you just repeat these steps, swapping from side to side, remembering to do that double wrap. So wrap around both base wires however many times you choose to. I've done 3 in my case, while you then swap from side to side in between that. So I now kept going here making the weave, and as you can see it's building up nicely and you get this really nice effect, really graphic looking I think. So that's how you make this weave. It's pretty nice and simple, and just 2 base wires. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful as well, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this colour block wire weave, and this is what it looks like. So you get this really nice effect of using the 2 different colours of wire. You get this colour blocking effect going along, and both sides are exactly the same, so it's nice and simple to work with. So if you want to learn how to make this weave, then keep watching. So then what I'm going to be using is 2 lengths of my 1mm wire here, and these are going to be my base wires, and then we also need 2 lengths of our weaving wire. Now what I'm going to be working with is 2 different colours, because this weave really looks nice that way, but also just to show you the difference and how it then works together. So I've got 2 lengths of my 0.4mm wire, and I'm just using 1 in copper and then 1 in silver here. So then the first thing I'm going to do is grab one of my base wires, and then also one of my lengths of 0.4mm wire here, so the wrapping wire. And first off I just want to attach this, so I'll put the end of my 0.4mm wire behind my base wire, then just leave a little tail so I can hold on to that. Then the first thing I want to do is just wrap my weaving wire around my base wire here. So basically just coiling it around and making sure that your wraps that you're doing are going to be nice and tight together. How many times you want to wrap it is really up to you, because what I'm going to do is also go straight into the weave. I'm just going to push these together with my pliers. You want to make sure that every time you're doing your wraps here, so throughout, they're going to be really nice and tight together. That's going to help obviously make the weave just work, but also make it look nice and neat. So I'm going to wrap here. I'm just going to see how many I've done. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 I think. Just press them together again. So you want to do however many wraps you want to. I think I want to do 5. So like that. And that's obviously just what I'm choosing to do to show you how it can look, but you can really adjust how many you want to do. So this is one of them. And I'm going to just put this aside for now, and then I'm going to grab my other base wire and also my other weaving wire here. And this is then in my case a silver coloured weaving wire. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, so put my weaving wire at the end of that behind my base wire, just grab hold of that little tail and then just wrap this around. So coil it around the base wire the same amount of times that we did the other one. So 2, 3, 4 and 5. Like I said, you can do however many wraps you want to. I'm just doing 5 in this case. Make sure they're squeezed nice and tight together. So there we go. This is now both of them ready. So now what we need to do is then actually bring the two together as well and start making the actual weave. So as you can see here, I've got them both ready, and both of my wraps, so how I put my weaving wire around my base wire, they're both going in the same direction, and that's what you want to make sure of. So I'm just going to basically put these close together, so lie them right next to each other, but you want to make sure that the wrapped sections there are lying right next to each other, so not kind of like this off from each other, but you want them lying next to each other, because you need to make sure of that because of spacing. So then what we need to do is continue with the weave and the wrapping. Now in my case I've just put my copper one there on the top, that's coming out towards the back and then down behind, and then my silver one is coming from behind and out towards the bottom there. So what I'm just going to do first is take the bottom one, the silver one there, making sure that the wraps are lying next to each other. Keep hold of that for now. And then I want to bring this across the top of both of them, like that. And this is why you need to make sure that the wrapped sections, the coiled section there, are lying next to each other, because that's going to help with the spacing so we don't pull this too tight. Then the copper one, I'm just going to kind of leave it hanging there for now. The copper one that's coming from the top then behind, I need to bring that down behind both of them and then up around the bottom, and that's basically now in position. The two wires have now actually swapped places around the base wires, so what I'm just going to do is continue with one of them first. Doesn't really matter which one you start with. I'm just going to do one with my copper, so I'm actually going to wrap around the bottom one on its own with the copper one now, the one that came from the opposite one, and I can just do one wrap to start with. I prefer to do that just to get them both kind of going with the next wrap here. Then I'm going to take the silver one in my case, that's now coming on around the top base wire and out towards the back, and I'm going to wrap around that top base wire on its own. So that means I'm coming up between the two base wires and then wrapping around that once, so one full time. Now this is where you then need to make sure that it's working out correctly, because the wraps that you're doing now on each base wire, they still need to lie next to each other. So this is what I meant when I said that we need to make sure the two wrap sections down, the first ones you did, are lying next to each other rather on top of each other there, because you need to have enough spacing to fit two wraps, one around each base wire, in between those two base wires there, and be able to get your wire in. So that's how you make sure of that, because obviously if you're getting too tight together, you won't be able to fit two separate weaving wires in between lying next to each other. They're going to want to kind of lie off from each other because you can't fit them in. So I'm just going to continue doing my wrapping here. I've done one around each base wire now with the separate wires. So you just continue with one of them, doing the same amount of wraps. So I'm just going to continue with the top one, the silver one in my case. I've already done one on both, so I'm just going to keep doing on the same one up to the amount that I want. So that's 5 in total. I've done another one, so that's 2. Come up between the two base wires, wrap around again, that's 3. Once more and all the way around, that's 4. And then again, and that makes the 5th one. And again, just let it hang out towards the back there, because then we need to obviously get ready as well for it to come around for the next section. And I'm just going to push them nice and tight. So that's the one side. We now need to do the same with the bottom one, that's in my case the copper one there. I've already done the one wrap, the very first one. So I'm going to wrap around the bottom base wire continuously where it came from. Go down between the two base wires. So that's twice. 3, 4, and 5. So there we go. So I've now wrapped an equal amount here on both sides, and the bottom base wire, so the copper one, is coming out towards the back, in between the two base wires, and then down towards the bottom there. So now we basically need to swap places again. We've gotten to that point that we just showed you there. So we need to swap places with the wires. This is where using the two different colours really helps as well. But it also makes the weave stand out really. So that means I'm going to take the top one that's coming from the top and down behind the two base wires and just bring it across the back of them. Just let it hang there for now. And then the bottom one, that's a copper one, I need to bring it from below around the top of the two base wires and then up towards the back to get them to swap places. And then same principle, I want to just do a single wrap around each of these base wires with each of the wrapping wires, just to kind of get them settled in place. It's a little bit easier to work with. So you can start with whichever one you want to. I'm just going to take my copper one, the top one, do one full wrap around that base wire. So that's where I come up in between the two base wires. And then I'm also just going to do one around the bottom with the silver one, so I'll go down between the two base wires and push that all the way down. And every time you do this, especially when you swap over, you want to make sure that your two wrapping wires there and the two wraps, one on each side, that you just do a line right next to each other. So there we go. I've now done each on both sides. So now you just continue. So that means I need to do 5 in total on each side. So that is 2, 3, 4, and then the last one, that's 5. And again, just leave that coming up towards the back. Make sure they're nice and tight. And the bottom one, I've already done one, so I need to do the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and then the fifth one. So we again have equal amount of wraps on both sides. And that's basically the next one. So now we're in the position to swap place again. And you just keep going and doing the same thing. You bring the top one behind both of them, coming down towards the bottom. And the bottom one goes across the top of both of them and out towards the top. And they're the swap places, and you're ready to start again. And that's basically all there is to it. So you get this really nice effect of swapping around with the colours. So basically this kind of little bit of colour blocking effect. So I'm just going to keep going here and show you then what it can look like. So this is then what the weave looks like here. So you can see this really colour block effect that you get. And both sides are the same, so that's brilliant. You don't have a front and a back. So that's what it looks like. It's a pretty simple weave to do. And especially it looks nice using the two different colours of wire here. It gives you that nice effect. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to do the diagonal wire weave. And this is what it looks like. So I have a section here where I'm only using 2 base wires, the same weave, and then I have a little section here where I'm going to show you how to add in more base wires as well. And you can use as many base wires or as few as you want to. And it gives a really nice looking weave, quite a substantial one, but gives a really nice detail in it as well, and a uniform one. So if you want to learn how to do this, then keep watching. So then what I'm just going to be using to demonstrate with is 4 lengths here of my 1mm wire. That's going to be the base wires. And then I'm also using a 0.4mm wire to wrap with. So that's just what I'm going to be demonstrating with. Now what I'm going to do first is take one wire at a time. And first we just want to attach this weaving wire. And the way to do that is I put it behind, leave a little tail to hold on to. And then just wrap it around once of the one base wire there. Now before we wrap again, we want to bring in the next wire. Place that above the previous one, just like this. And you have your weaving wire basically coming out in between the two, but down behind it. So we have that one wrap now around the bottom wire on its own. So then what we do is go over around the bottom here and then go over the top of both of them, just like this. And then what you'll find is that little single wrap that we did to begin with, that helps keep the wires, the base wires, separate, so we can still get in between these two. Later on we'll do more wraps. But then also because that's there, you have that little effect where the next wrap that we've just done now, that goes over both of the wires, that becomes kind of diagonal, just like this, because it pulls over at the top, because there's nothing there at the top to stop it, but on the bottom you have that single wrap that kind of stops it. So that's the first diagonal one. We only do this once, and then we go straight up in between the two wires. So in between the two that you just wrapped around at the front, and push that down. And then what I'm going to show you first is just how to do this weave around two wires, because it can be a really nice weave to use, and I especially like this for ring bands as well. So up in between the two, and then around the top one on its own. So this is what we have now. So one wrap around the bottom one, once around both of them, and then once around the top one. And that's how you get that kind of diagonal wire in the center that wrapped around both. And then what we just do now to continue the weave is go down behind both of them and basically start from scratch. So go down in between the two. So I'm only wrapping around the bottom one on its own. Push it all the way down again till it won't go any further. Make sure you push your weave nice and tight. And then I'm coming out in between the two towards the back. Again, go down below the bottom one, up and over and around both of them. And again, doing the wrap around both of them is that when we get that diagonal weave. And then once we've done that just the once, we need to come up in between the two, push that down, and that pushing that down in between also helps push down that diagonal one we just did, and then around the top one once, just like that. And then that's your second go. And you just want to keep doing this, go all the way around both of them, around the back of both of them, and then keep repeating this. So around the bottom one once, around both of them once, and then around the top one once, and down the back. And that's all there is to it. You just continue like this. This weave can make a really nice ring band as well, but it's just a really nice and bit of a different looking weave on its own. So you continue this for a while. I'll do a bit of this and then show you how it looks. So I've now kept wrapping for a bit, doing the exact same thing over and over again, and then we end up with this kind of diagonal looking weave to it. And it gives a really different effect than most other weaves. I really like this one myself. So this is what it's going to look like, just using two base wires. What I'm going to do now is continue and show you how to use more base wires as well, because that can give a really nice effect as well. So first off, I want to continue, just start out the same way that I've done with the two base wires. So I'm coming all the way around the back towards the bottom of my base wire there, is the very bottom one, and then I need to go around that bottom one once on its own, so down in between the two that we have, just like that, and then around the bottom again, and then around over the top of both of them, which is when we'll get that diagonal one, and then straight up in between the two that we just wrapped. And now we come up there. So instead of now wrapping around the top one once, what we need to do is add in our next wire, base wire, and just place that above the rest. So you then have your 1, 2, and now the third base wire. And then basically we just do the exact same thing we just did. We now go above the next two base wires. So again, you get another diagonal one there. And just as well, the same thing again, go up in between the two that you just wrapped around, and then that helps push it down as well. And again, take the last one. In my case, I'm just using 4. You can do this really with as many base wires as you want to. You just keep adding them in. Place that again on the top above the rest, and then we're coming up in between the two we just wrapped. So now we go above, over the next two, so the one that we're just coming up in between, and then the one that's loose. Go around both of them, and then again up in between the two that you just wrapped. Push that down, and then that pushes the whole weave down as well. And now the last one we always want to go through or go around just the once, just like we did with just the two base wires. So go back around that once, just like this, and then that's the first full go around all of the base wires here, all 4 that I'm using. So this is where we then just take it around the back of all of the wires. Make sure that on the back it's lying still against the base wires and we're not wrapping accidentally on top of the weaving wire. So it's still nice and flat. Go back down to the beginning and we just start again. So around the base, the first base wire once, just like that. Now around that again, but then including the next one, so around the bottom 2 once, which is the first one of the diagonal ones, up in between the 2 that you just wrapped, push that down, step up once more, so around the next 2, so the 2 middle one in my case, and then again up in between the 2 that you just wrapped, push that down, which pushes the whole weave down, and then around the top of the top 2, the last 2 in my case, and just around that top one on its own, so up in between the 2 you just wrapped, and push that down, and again once more around that just top one on its own, and that's now the second one. And then it's going to be building up like this and give a really nice effect. So again, we just take this all the way down the back of the base wires and start again, and that's all there really is to it. So it's the exact same weave as just using 2 base wires. We're just adding in more and then adding more of the diagonal weaves along the way to however many base wires that you have. So this is how you do this weave really, and then once you build up a bit more with the more base wires, it gives a really lovely effect as well. So I've now made a bit more of this section here with the weaving across multiple base wires, just to give you an impression of what it can look like. So as you can see, you get a really nice effect because you have these little diagonal wraps all scattered in between there, so it gives a really nice and uniform effect, but a completely different look than some other weaves can do as well. So that's how you do this weave. You can do however many base wires you want and get completely different looks. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching.